James,
Dave, how are you, man?
yeah, lekker. How you doing, bro?
Just like your backdrop. That's cool.
Everyone loves it, huh?
That's so cool.
It's like super villain or superhero.
Action movie, isn't it?
Yeah. Just quickly, how's my audio? Is it better like this or no headphones? Which is better?
Yeah, it's the same.
Okay, let's go with these.
There you go. You're back.
How's life?
Yeah, that's good, man. That's very good.
Nice.
Chilly. Flip. You look pretty warm in Cape Town. You got a t-shirt on. I had a bit of sweater on today. It's icy here.
I'm in this little like meeting room here because I work in an open plan, so there's a lot of background noise. So I've come to here.
Okay. Geez, yeah, it's been cold the last couple of days. Flip, we had frost on the lawn, and it's 2 degrees down here in Sedgefield.
Sedgefield, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so weird. I was in Plet, obviously, with the family, and I don't know if you're aware, but basically the market's down, I don't know, roughly say 70% on roles or hiring. And I was,
70%.
yeah, I would say last year, like, so we obviously work in verticals like based on languages or stack. And
Mm.
like Golang, we had like maybe, 8 to 10 different companies hiring in the Go space. And now we've got one. Or if we had like 20 in the on a Python stack, we've got four now. So
Is
it's
everyone
been
just downsizing at the moment with the?
I think, I mean, no one knows exactly for sure. My kind of opinion is the it was just a hiring frenzy.
Mm.
And
Doing
I
what
think
Elon does, just knocking everyone out. Yeah, I need 20 engineers to run Twitter.
well, he hired 80%, and the company's running perfectly.
Oh no.
Also, I think a lot of companies, like, I don't want to mention names. Firstly, this is a trial. I don't even know if this is going to work. I don't even know if we're going to put
Cool.
it out there. So it's so it's a little experiment. But a lot of companies, like, they went through these mass retrenchments, right?
Hmm.
And a month later, they're hiring like 50, 60 new roles. So I don't know if they're using it to like trim the fat. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
Like almost like blitz scale, and then get all the best guys and then downsize to like a lean team. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
Which I wouldn't agree with, because you're using like human capital, like kind of to A/B test who's the best and then get rid of the rest and keep the good ones. You know what I mean?
That's an expensive way of doing it.
Yeah, and they're going to incur recruitment costs because they're hiring again. But it's
Yeah.
been a few companies have done it. Yeah, but anyway, so I thought, so because I've got a bit of time freed up because it's not this manic hiring, I thought I'd
Hmm.
try use my time wisely.
Okay.
And then I thought, like, let me chat to some CTOs or tech leads and just find out kind of what they look for, etc. So I can kind of publish it or put it out to senior engineers so that they're able to hear from, leaders or leaders in the space,
Mm.
which, what they look for in order to grow up the ranks, move from mid to senior, move into a lead role. And I thought of it and I pinged you and played. You answered immediately. And then I bumped you 3 days later
That's weird,
on the,
eh?
on the highway on the way back.
Yeah, yeah. The Barley House,
Yeah, I love that
Riversdale.
place.
It's a lovely spot.
Very cool. Yeah, yeah. So I figured, I don't know, the universe is saying I'm on the right
Yes,
track.
universe is saying, let's chat.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, also, I used
So,
to see you quite a bit in Cape Town, but they're obviously now moving up here. You miss out on some of those coffees and just general chats with people
I know,
that you
I
definitely
know.
miss. And also with remote work now, it's become a little bit more kind of like, yeah, you miss that engagement a little bit.
I think that is like, obviously everyone digs remote, but I think with the hardest thing to build is culture remotely, because it's kind
Mm,
of like brushing your teeth culture. It's like the coffee, it's the morning, it's the house, and it's all these
mm.
little personal bits in between the day that kind of build it up. You know what I mean? And now
Yeah,
you've got to,
yeah.
like, I have to book time to like go like, hey, how you doing? How's life? Do you know what I
Mm,
mean?
mm.
So
Yeah, and also
yeah.
as part of the enjoyment of work is the engaging with people, so that's, you learn things and you grow. But
Do you
being
know?
remote, you don't get as much
Yeah. Do you know why?
one-on-one.
Do you know why I thought of you first?
Why?
Because there was, okay. Well, obviously there's the accolade or like the companies you've worked for and stuff, which is, I
Hmm.
mean, I guess work-wise that's cool and good. But the main reason is from the AFB days, and I remember stories of like young devs like asking you if they can come work at night or come into the office, or like there was such such excitement and passion and like just yes and vibe with the project. And I also heard a rumor like when you left that like people wanted to follow you, and I'm all for that, like not anarchist, but like what's the word, like not revolution, but like following the leaders. You know what I mean? It was super cool.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the environment and what you're doing kind of dictates that. You know, I'm really passionate about, you know, the core reason why you do something. You know, like I remember always challenging with my boss at the time was, you know, just, you know, throw money at this problem. It's like, nah, that doesn't kind of like, that's not going to solve the problem. You know, these guys earn good money already. You know, they want to be aligned to a direction, you know, a belief in something better, you know, that you strive for. You know, it's like you look back on your life, you definitely want to be able to tick those boxes that you've made a difference, you know.
100%.
Yeah, so then it's about, you know, so when you're in a group of people like that, you kind of like feed off each other. You kind of work with the same thing and you have the same ideals and the same kind of like goals. So it definitely feeds the system. It definitely feeds that environment. So it makes it kind of like way more enjoyable because you are connected with people that kind of like on the same wavelength. You're kind of like trying to solve the same thing. You know, it's like, you know, I strongly believe that there's like two types of people in the world. There's the creators and the takers. You definitely want to be around creators, you know, and unfortunately there's very few creators, and it's difficult to identify. But if you can identify that, then you basically have a set of people around you that are helping you, you know, are guiding you. I always think everyone's a gift in your life. You know, that's when you find people, you know, it's a potential reflection onto yourself. You know, so any interaction I find with people is a gift because it's an opportunity for you to learn. You know, they come into your life to show you a part of you that can be better. Yeah, sometimes we ignore most of it, you know, but it's that's why I enjoy being with people and working with people and hiring people, because there's opportunity. Actually, it's a bit selfish. Actually, there's opportunity for myself to grow, you know, because they're reflecting something in me that I need to deal with.
Of course, no, brilliant. I heard the other day, like, so obviously everything is an opportunity, like whether it's good or bad, or like all the information is neutral. But like, obviously, if you've got a good person, whether it be in relationship, be in work, anything, if it's a good thing and it's, you know, pushing you to grow, that's great. You know?
Yeah.
If it's a bad thing, can sometimes be better than an average thing. And the reason being is because the average, like if you're in an average workspace, like you can sit there for years and years and years and just kind of go away. But actually, if you're put into a bad role, you know this is not right. You feel this is uncomfortable. It forces action, and then you move. So the bad role essentially is like a step to find a better role or a better environment or relationship.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you learn from those experiences and move on. That's why I don't have a problem people moving on. I don't have that issue. You know, if they're there for a brief time, you know, and they're experiencing something might not fit, or they're not happy, or they see a better opportunity. Yeah, no, all for it. You know, that's, you know, if the relationship's open, you know, that's why I enjoy quite an open relationship with the people I worked with. You know, it's like, you know, I like those discussions where they're kind of like not just pushing your technical skills forward, but are pushing you as a person forward. You know, because the technical part's easy to learn. It's the people part which is the hard part. You know, at Google, what they found was what distinguished the star performers from the average wasn't IQ, it was actually EQ. You know, we're all trained in intelligence from an early stage of our lives. You know, we push and we compete against intelligence, but we're not taught to engage emotionally, you know, and that's important, you know, and Google found that out. You know, that's why they built that search inside program, really to enhance people's emotional intelligence and improve that. You know, if you find that in a team, then pretty much everything's possible. Everything is possible.
Yeah. I've been following. So obviously, like for years, not that I dived into it, but like NLP. There's now ELP, like emotional, like linguistic programming, and it's about like asking questions and obviously there's a whole thing in it, but you know, just how the like IQ's moved to EQ. Not that it's moved; it's an important thing to take into account as well.
IQ is obviously just as important. You know, are the 6 key traits that Google identified. I think the top 3 were emotional intelligence, but EQ is obviously, you know, IQ is important, specifically in a technical role. But it's how you engage with people is important.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so I haven't even jumped into these questions that I prepared. But also you were part of two. I think there's been 3 Google launch labs in South Africa. Jumo, I think, was Jumo one.
Yeah, Jumo, and I was part of that, and also SwiftVee with Russell.
And aerobotics as well, I think.
No, I wasn't part of the aerobotics part.
But 2 out of 3. I was
2 of the 3. Yeah,
that's not bad.
That's not bad.
No, it's brilliant. Okay, cool. So, just some basic ones like, just on the we talked about, like, obviously you living in Sedgefield now. Like, if you were building a new team, is remote, hybrid, in office? Like, what would you go about it, and like why?
Yeah, depending where the team is and what we're focusing on. You know, if it's a lot of interaction that needs to be kind of like solved, then I find a hybrid / in-office environment more important. So it's very depending on the project and what's happening. If it's a more established project, and you're just building out new features or you're rolling out something new, then you can strongly push remote and strongly push hybrid. I'm huge proponent of remote purely because it just opens up the field to way more skills. You instead of just, if you're based in Cape Town, then obviously you're just tapping into the Cape Town market. Yes, maybe you can attract work guys from Joburg and move down and relocate and stuff, but that's still quite a small pool of people. Why can't I tap into other areas of the world that add diversity to the mix, bring in different type of insights, have the skills. Also, as sometimes it also comes down to cost. You can potentially find cheaper resources, or if you're struggling in an area that you lack the skills, you can go to other areas which are going to be more expensive, but you've got a series of engineers that have a much higher caliber to solve a particular technical problem. So it's really very much where and what we're trying to do kind of like builds that kind of how we're going to do it. Like with Jumo, it was very much, we had multiple offices around, but and also the dynamic is kind of like shifted. Remote was kind of like quite taboo prior to COVID. It was doable, but it was like it was frowned upon. But now it's kind of like, it's accepted. So it's totally different compared to before COVID.
100%. So this isn't relevant to like anyone that's going to listen to this, but between you and I, so we had pre-COVID, about 2 years pre-COVID, I focused on like EU clients using South African engineers. Mm-hmm. So obviously offered remote work. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we were killing it. Firstly, because salaries are, I don't know, 20 to 40% above local. Mm-hmm. No one was really offering remote work. Mm-hmm. By getting a job with these companies, they got exposed to the EU market and other remote companies like for the next move. Mm-hmm. But we were absolutely, like, no one was really doing it, and we were killing it. Then COVID hit, which woke the world up to remote work. But I felt sorry, to be honest. I felt sorry for the companies previously offering remote work. And the reason being is because they were edgy, they were forward thinking, they took initiative. Do you know what I mean? Like absolutely. They took the risks. Yeah. And they had an edge to the competitors. But now, because of COVID, all the non-forward thinking companies, they were forced to be forward thinking. So it wasn't really a conscious decision from the company. It was completely forced. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then the guys that took the initial risk prior, they lost their edge when they were actually forward thinking. You know what I
mean? Yeah. They're gonna think now differently. They're gonna find another edge, take another advantage. Yeah. Exactly. COVID completely shifted that mindset. It's like really completely shifted it. It's crazy how much it did.
Yeah, and I think also to go back to what you first said, like, if the environment's great and the guys have got like a good passion for what they're doing, and it's not a collective movement, but it's the same passion as a collective forward, like to solve this problem. If that's essentially there, when guys are working remotely, that they're committed, they're on this wagon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the people that are scared of remote work are generally like that old school mentality when they're like, oh, the guy's taking the piss, or he's going
Yeah,
surfing.
they just go, they're skiving, or they're not doing a full day's work or whatever. It's a different type of mentality. It's also very much dependent too on the individual, Dave. I find is some people thrive more with people. Like I remember one engineer I had, he was kind of like off the chart genius, but he thrived working remotely because he liked to surf. So he lived down at Musenberg. But the guy never surfed because he would program and he'd get stuck. He would get into his wetsuit, paddle out, hit the first wave, and go, oh, that's how you do it, and turn around and come back in again. Now, if the guy was sitting in an office, you would have never got what I got out of that guy. If I didn't allow him to go surfing when he wanted to and work how he wanted to. It was just he used that sea and the wave as inspiration. So, yeah.
I did.
And how do you find that? It's tricky.
Yeah, complete. Well, it's not a specific thing. It's like a whole
No.
bunch of variables contributing and supporting to it.
Mm.
I remote work for me is personally like firstly I with my business I look at like what's best for the team, where they're going to be the most productive, all that kind of stuff. So we offer in office, hybrid or remote, whatever suits the person best. We're not going to lose out on a great team member based off one of those.
Yeah.
But I think they worked out like with mid to senior engineers, the outputs by working remotely compared to in office is massively more.
Yeah, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. It's huge.
If you just look at like the data, like if people are driving from northern suburbs to Cape Town, say it's 40 minutes, that's 40 minutes here, 40 minutes back, plus lunch, plus this. Most guys that take their work seriously, if they're locked in, that's extra probably 2.5 hours a day that the employer is getting from the employee.
Yeah, but also the thing is, if you're a programmer or even the creative fields, you can't just turn it on. You've got to be in the zone. So that zone could be, I'm busy doing the dishes right now and doing the laundry at 10 o'clock in the morning. Otherwise, I would be sitting in an office that just happened to be there. But yet, I suddenly at 10:30 in the morning, I figure this out, and then 8 hours later, it's past dinner time. You finish. So it's a flexible. Also, I always struggled with management in the sense where they were strict along these kind of like hours, because as programmers and creative people, your mind doesn't turn off. So like when you're sitting at home with a family or you taking the dog for a walk and you're thinking of an idea, can your boss pay you for that time after hours? No,
exactly.
It's not part of the discussion, but hang on, I solved the problem when I took the dog for a walk. That was after hours. Can I bill you for that? So
100%.
it's not a static thing, it's a fluid thing. So you have to kind of move with it.
I romanticized with the idea first. I thought like, I'm gonna drop the kids at school, maybe take a walk on the prom with my missus, a little brekkie, get some work done, have a little sneaky surf lunchtime. Like I thought this was going to be like I had this whole preconceived idea about remote work.
Yeah.
Got into it, and if I was operating at X pre-remote, I'm operating at X plus 40% during
100%, 100%.
Like if you don't set your notifications, Slack, this whatever it is.
No, you just
My wife used to cut me out in bed on my phone. She's like, David, what are you?
I know how I totally relate to that. Don't worry. I deal with that all daily. It's like, I get sucked in.
No, big time. Okay, let's see what else we got here for you. Okay, that was remotes. So obviously the big thing is talent and finding good engineers. Which is hard enough. So like retaining good talents. Like keeping the guys there. I think the average time spent for a software engineer at a business worldwide is 18 months, so a year and a half.
Yep.
Like retaining talent, like how would you go about it? What are your views on it?
Yeah, firstly, retaining the talent, firstly, the environment needs to be good, so that the reason he or she is there is because they're enjoying themselves, So part of my process is really learning about the individual before I hire them. It's a challenging part because, I'm a huge proponent of emotional intelligence. Very much want to hear how the individual themselves are moving forward in their lives. I'm not really interested in, if they're interested in Python or JavaScript or whatever. To me, it's irrelevant. I really want to understand the individual. So that gives me an understanding of the person, So so by the time where they move on, it's kind of, I understand because they've reached that point where they need to move on. Yeah, I've kind of like accepted the fact that that's going to happen. Not everyone's going to stay around, but I like to create an environment that keeps them moving forward, not necessarily only technical, but also outside of technical. Like at Jumo, I built that EQ course, was really to kind of like develop those skills that will benefit from them. They can benefit from.
Yeah.
And also, I also personally think engineers also need to have a side hustle. If they don't have a side hustle, then I'm normally quite suspect. Like, why don't you have a side hustle? Like, why aren't you doing that? Because I expect, because they're creative people, they have all these one-off ideas that they envisage, doing in their lives, and I want that to be supported. So the kind of environment you create for them is really to nurture that. Leverage as much as possible. Learn as much as you can get and grow as much as you can. But I know it's inevitable that someone's going to move on because of that creative need or that interest or that desire, and just try and limit that and try and hinder it and try hold on to it. I think is not an effective way of engaging with.
I think also if you have a good relationship and everything's like healthy and all the boxes are ticked, so when that person leaves, just as much as candidates, or I hate the word candidates, but like or employees, but they don't want to ruin bridges. A CTO or a techie doesn't want to ruin bridges with a great team member. So if they move on, they're able to engage, poach, pull into a new team in 3 years' time or 4 years' time. So that's
totally.
One thing is like naming the markets. Like it's a small world. I've learned that because I was a very naughty youngster. And some people remember some of the stuff I did in my youth. So it's a small world in that aspect, and also the tech space or the software engineering space.
But also the thing is, what I've enjoyed working with you, and why I find it so important having like someone who's helped in this area, is that I hadn't the time to figure out if these people fit the bill. I'm not worried about the technical part. My requirement was you as a person. And what I enjoyed with you is that you took the time to understand me personally and figure out me, because the guys who came to the door I knew were at a level already that I can look at. Technically, we can test the process, and yes, technically we can deal with that. But the first hurdle was getting him through the, like, does this person hit my kind of like criteria about hitting those specifically those EQ marks? That's what I think it's valuable, because I don't. You need to rely on someone who also has that kind of interest in people. That passion for it, to really identify that side, which is, so I've enjoyed our relationship because we've kind of like worked pretty well together, because you understood me, which was always very appreciative.
It's a big thing, the people aspect, I think, as well. Thank you. It's easy. It's like
it comes naturally to people. It comes very naturally to you. It's not something that just happens. It's just that that was just blessed on you, and you've utilized it for your career, which is great.
Thank you. I think often, like, sometimes we'll get like, if you're authentic to like the clients you serve and the candidates you're dealing with and like the people you're really building your circle with, business wise, network wise, personal, like it's only going to be fruitful or enjoyable. But often, like, candidates, like, well, I'll place a senior engineer, and he's like, thanks so much. Like, and I'm like, literally, it wasn't me. Like, I set up the meeting between you two, and you guys run with it. But if you've done that core work in the beginning, this takes care of itself.
Exactly.
The guys are setting up their own meetings. I'm not even admin orientated. And they're like, oh, thank you so much. I'm like, you did it. I just put you two together. Like,
But the thing is useful because you can see the pieces. You can see which pieces need to go with other pieces. It's true. Like, some individuals won't go with that person, but that person will go with that person. Completely.
And there's in Judaism or Yiddish, it's called a shidduch. A shidduch is like, let's say I know this guy is recently divorced and this girl is, but you don't tell them, but you arrange like a bride and they're both invited because they'll hit it off. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Anyway, off
So
subject.
do you match make as well besides put legs together for tech?
Probably friendship wise, that's my worst. I ruined it. They just guys end up going nuts and having a good time. Okay, what else we got here? Sorry, I mean this is the first time I'm doing this, so you're gonna bear with me,
That's
James,
cool.
please.
Okay.
Okay, we spoke about retaining. There's the where will you see technology in 5 years? I'm gonna scrap that. That's so lame.
That's a quite interesting thing with AI. AI has kind of like shifted that a bit. But everyone's in the panic, it's going to replace jobs. I personally think it's just making you more creative. You know,
Yeah.
I've looked at the tools, played with the tools. Honestly, my creativity is just tenfold.
Yeah, you're doing the digital art now and stuff.
Yeah. It's still, it's not going to create the idea. It might give you some ideas, but you still need to be creative enough to see it and go, okay, that would work, that would work, that would work. You know, so, and I've been testing the whole code thing. It's still, it hallucinates and it's still kind of like, but it definitely makes you more productive and more creative. So it's, I think that's where I see mainly the tech going to be changing, is these tools are going to be evolving rapidly.
We've also gone through this a few times. So like, I mean, you think of like in manufacturing, like robotics. They cut out like old guys in automotive industry, or you think of like automation software, like where guys used to do certain things manually or whatever, and now it's automated. It's just another, you know, after AI, there'll be something else, whether it's in 5 years or 20 years, you know what I mean? Which reminds me also.
Definitely, obviously, it's going to replace certain jobs. But right now, it's just a crazy tool to boost productivity.
Yeah, 100%. That's also why I dig this, like authentic conversations, because so many posts are automated. They're using tools, and it's just literally off ChatGPT or whatever.
They're just churning the stuff out.
And then also builds like authentic audience. You know what I mean? Like guys, like some guys will go, David's. I don't like Dave. Some guys will go, I like Dave. Some guys will go, what James said is great. Like but the people that are engaging or enjoying it are authentic, if that makes sense. Totally. Like they're seeing the little bits. So there's another story I remember about you. I think I asked you, like, my cousin or nephew is thinking of doing software engineering, like what would you recommend? And I don't know if you're going to remember this, but you said go into the library.
Yeah.
If there's books on it, don't do it.
No.
And then you said if there's no books on it, go do it.
Yeah. Obviously, what is that? Yeah, exactly. Like obviously it's difficult to know what that is. But the reality, if you see those books and exclusive books, it's too saturated. The whole thing is just there's too many. It's too much competition. You know, you need to kind of like find where that edge is or where that niche is. Yes, everyone says focus on the niche. You know, it's much harder than it is. But the point is that you are kind of like looking, like an example. And my son's published his first book last week.
Amazing, congrats.
And yes, and there's books in that arena, but like, what's going to distinguish yours from someone else's? You know, like what is that little thing? You know, that's what you want to look for. That's I think is important. You know, what's going to make it different? What's going to make it slightly better? It's pushing the creative thing. You know, it's like, it's easy to go, you know, like we say, you take, you know, one of my favorite Taoist quotes is, we take borrowed truths to be knowledgeable. To be knowledgeable is not to know, which means we take other people's ideas and then recreate them and think them, oh, they're unique, but they're just someone else's ideas.
That was your tagline.
Yeah, it's always my tagline.
It's so. This is also, I don't even know if this is relevant to who's going to listen to this. So when I was in school, right, they told me Shakespeare. This is what he meant, and this is what you're going to learn. I was like, were you mates with him back then? Like, how do you know what he said?
What he was thinking.
It's up to me to read it and take away from what I want. Otherwise, it's someone else's truth I'm listening to. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like,
you haven't discovered it for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a famous. There's also a brilliant film you should watch. It's with Viggo Mortensen, or I don't know how to pronounce his name properly, but it's his family, and they go live in the wilds, and they're homeschooled, and they grow up in nature.
I've seen that.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's good.
And there's a scene. He's driving the bus, and he says to his boy, he's like, you know, what do you think of that book you read? And he starts saying, yeah, this character did this, 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 this. And he's like, I don't care. I know you read the book. I don't want to know what the book's about. Tell me what you think of the book. And he goes, well, I thought this character, this resonated with me, but he's telling his own truth, not what like.
Yes.
And
yeah. No, 100%.
I'm trying to teach my kids that as well. I mean, it's
hard, an important lesson. It's a very important lesson. That's why also one of my favorite interview questions, which I stole from, I can't remember who it was. It was a great question. So what important truth do very few people agree with you on? So it means the next time you're around the braai, you're having a braai with your mates, you've come across a truth. Obviously, in an interview, you don't talk about politics and religion, but there's some kind of like reality or some type of idea that you kind of like, this is what I think it is, But your mates think, Dave, no, dude, you're nuts, man. They don't agree with you in the slightest. But the idea of it is kind of like, like what is that thing that you've identified? It might be true, it might not be true, it might evolve into something completely different. But the point of it is that the person is questioning life. They delving into it. They're thinking about it. They're exploring it. They're not just they're not a sheep. They're not just taking someone else's kind of thing and going this, and this. I don't want to know. So what's your truth?
I think that's why going back to the EQ aspect, that's why it's so important. Like if you're able to take criticism or honestly listen. Like there's a saying, it takes a brave man to stand up and speak. It takes a braver man to sit down and listen, right?
Yeah.
So everyone, our generation, everyone can stand up and speak, right? But it's actually harder to sit down and listen. And I think if you're in a room and you're talking about truths, or it could be even software or a technical problem. If you're in a room with like people with like decent EQ, they're able actually to listen to the other side, if that makes sense.
100%.
Which can contribute to remote work as well, because they can communicate well. They're actually listening to that, which in turn might solve a technical problem better because people are actually listening around the room.
100%.
So it's a massive thing that actually.
It's huge. It's huge. And also it gives you kind of like strength in your conviction. You're not shy by saying this is my truth and being embarrassed by it. You're willing to risk the embarrassment or risk the ridicule. That's also the great thing is like, I remember, I always love it. It's just like, you can ask a question and be fool for 5 minutes, but if you don't have a question, you're a fool all your life. It's just only 5 minutes you're going to be a fool. It's just 5 minutes. But if you don't ask it, dude, it's
100%. I always say like if it's something new, I'm like, ask questions, ask as many questions as possible. There's no stupid question. You know what I mean?
There's no stupid question. No.
Often with like I know the way for me to tell if someone knows their profession or knows their like what they do really, really well is if they can explain it to me simply. Do you know what I mean? In like layman terms.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Like some people explain, I'm like, bro, I still got no idea what it is, bro. Like.
Yeah. That's quite an art. That's quite a skill, hey?
Yeah. It's okay. Let's see what else we got here for you.
Geez, I need to blow my nose. It's cold air. It's just
all good,
freezing in here.
Okay, we got I think I've gone off subject here quite a bit, as usual. It's like the ADD. Ooh, there's a bird. Like, just like a squirrel.
I know. Don't know what you talk about there.
Anyway. Okay, last. I know you've been freelancing for a bit, but like, okay, what are these? Let's see. Okay, the last hire you made, what was the process, and who did you hire? Should we go with that one, or have you ever made a bad hire, and when did you figure it out?
A bad hire. That's a good one.
I've made loads, bro.
Yeah, I think the bad hire I've made is because I wasn't listening to my gut. I was going. It was a time constraint, so we were pushing hard because we had to fill a gap, and that push wasn't coming from me; it was coming from management. So there was kind of like a pressure in getting it, instead of actually just going with the guts and going, you know what, we need more time on this. There were alarm bells that I picked up early, but I kind of like suppressed them because the logic kicked in and where normally I trust my gut and go with that. And it happens in life, you just sometimes make those wrong decisions. So that is when I've been pressurized into, because of time constraints, deadlines, we need to get these people to the door. And I've learned to push back on that because we've seen the mistakes from it.
I think a lot of people, don't realize, like, obviously you've got, say, the board or the founders or the CTO, and they've got funding and there's certain deadlines in place. So there's all these crazy variables. Like, yes, you're trying to hire the right people, but they've got to be in by a certain time because you've got these deadlines and an MVP in order to get second round funding, or there's like, it's crazy, the whole picture and the whole process. And I think in like, there's like these consulting companies, EOH, like these big consulting companies that will take on work. A lot of these guys will pitch without even having a team, right? So they'll pitch, they'll get the work, and then they'll go hire the guys to build it, right? And let's say a senior Java developer earns, say, between 80 and 125K a month. They might have someone on 130 that wants 150, right? So he's over that bracket. But they'd rather get that guy in at 150 because it falls in with their budget and everything in order to get this over the line. Do you know what I mean? So they pressurize by timelines opposed to like finding the right people.
Yeah. You see, to me, it's difficult because the reason I'm working is, yes, we're producing something, and yes, there's money and there's costs involved. But to be quite honest, the people that you're hiring, like engineers, they're a special bunch of people. They're not factory workers. They're not assembly guys. In some businesses are like that they see it like that, and they just hoy in the assemblies and just output it like that. But it just feels to me dirty. It doesn't feel. It just doesn't resonate. And I normally wouldn't be in that kind of environment. Me personally. So it's. I wouldn't. Obviously, when I get hired or when I look for a space, it's quite specific around those type of mental, those things. You're dealing with. It's very much on the environment and what's being produced. But I can understand that. I totally understand. See why companies would do it and how they go about it. It's all about the bottom line. It's all about that. There's no, to me, no chias.
Yeah, but it comes out over time. Like, I mean, let's say within Swift Momentum, back in the day, I didn't know what I was doing, and we're trying to grow this business, and I was hiring the wrong people, and it took me time to work that out. So now I've made the mistakes. It's great when you do them yourself. Actually, it hurts because they're expensive school fees, but you really, but you learn it. Like, I've learned my truth, like that.
Yeah.
I didn't read it. I went through it and learned it myself.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think like the last, like with our business, the last, like, say, 8 years, specifically like Warren and Kim, to calm my manicness and craziness, that like we've really taken our time, spent time, and looked at it like holistically, the people, their contribution, everything. And it's maybe been a bit slower or maybe less fast financial growth, but it's such a good team. The people that are going to refer to the business are really like passionate about the brand, authentic. They naturally fit into it. It's like, if you take your time, you're actually saving yourself so much effort. The environment's better. It's just like a win-win. If you plant good seeds, you can only collect good seeds.
100%. Yeah.
I wish I knew that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I wish I knew years ago.
But I'm trying to make bucks to feed the family, this and that. So it's hard. That's the thing about life. You know what I mean? You learn it like as you go along.
Yeah, totally.
There you go. Okay, let's see what else we got here for you. You're gonna have to tell me this after if we're gonna put this out. I'll phone you after and we can decide. Right.
Were you gonna put it out on? Are you gonna put it like every
This is the concept, right? So what I wanted to do is there's a lot of.
You gotta keep all this in there.
What do you mean?
Even this stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
Everything. Yeah.
If they're swearing or everyone knows who I am. You know what I mean? I'm more worried about you, man.
No. Yeah. I mean, well behaved.
So I just wanted to, like, obviously it varies CTO to CTO or company to company. And I just wanted senior engineers to which is going to relate back to my next question. But I wanted like senior engineers to know what like CTOs look for, what they really do look for, not just the job specs, like maybe the personalities, like what you'd look for in a senior engineer. And then I wanted to do this like maybe once a month or twice a month with say 5 different CTOs, because everyone's slightly different with different journeys. Exactly, all of it. So then hopefully engineers are able to look at each of these and go like, this guy resonates with me. I understand what he's looking for now. Maybe I need to do this to get a promotion, or I just thought it could be valuable for mid-level or senior engineers. Also some CTOs, because some CTOs, they're like actually like tech leads, they're actually a senior engineer and not a CTO, and they want to move to that next level. Which brings me to another question, if that's cool. So like, what would you look for like in a team lead or like a senior engineer? Like, let's say you were the head honcho and you needed like a team lead. The stacks built. I mean, the application's built. Maybe there's some bugs still to fix. There's some new features to build, and you've got a whole bunch of good mid-level guys, but you need someone to step in as like a lead.
Yeah.
What would you look for?
So, okay, so let's say there's 10 candidates and they're all technically sound. Okay, so now how are you going to distinguish which one's going to be? So, yeah, my interview process is quite vigorous in the beginning with regards to emotional intelligence. A lot of people always come back and just say like, this is the best interview they've ever had. Like they were totally unexpected. But what I do is, at first you want to engage with that person personally. I normally don't meet with them in the office. Somewhere which is kind of like neutral, so the person feels comfortable. Like you'd have a cup of coffee or something like that. There's no pressurized of getting in a suit and coming into an office and sitting in a corner and feel pressurized. I want to try and firstly create an environment where I can somehow tap into that individual, who he is or she is, just to make it more comfortable for them, so that inner spirit starts to surface. And then I have kind of like a set series of questions that kind of like delves into it, and like a typical question would be, like, what are you most least proud of? So like most people, ironically, would not even hear the question. They just hear the word proud, and they'll start talking what they're most proud of, like want something in their life that they're proud of. Which, and then I say, hang on, I actually want to know what you're least proud of. The reason I ask that is that this obviously, all of us have done some stupid thing in our lives that we're not that happy with. That might be a vulnerable thing. It might be a personal thing. Ideally, a personal thing to me is more effective than like, I wasn't proud because my code didn't deploy correctly or something like that. That to me is kind of a really like it's a weak response. You would have kind of figured out emotionally that the conversation we're having is far deeper than just somewhere an interview. So which means the person is ready at that kind of like he's thinking. And then I want to hear, and then specifically I would follow up with a question is, okay, fine. Like, so what are you doing about it? Like, I'm not proud of X. Okay. So what are you doing in life so you're not heading in that direction again? So it kind of like shows me that the person has thought about it. They're aware of that fault or that thing that they've done. And this is how they're rectifying it. It might be a difficult thing, and I totally understand, but they're aware of it and they're kind of like moving the needle forward day by day, week by week, and this is how they're doing it. And then to me, it's like, okay, now this guy, that's already okay, that's a tick. And then it's kind of like more into that kind of thing about the individual, because what it is that leader is showing me skills that he is evolving. He's actually pushing himself personally, and yes, also obviously with his career too. Technically, you would have gone through the technical things later on. The second or third round, you would have delved into the technical side to see how he's handling that. But it's really about who he is as a leader, as an individual. Because if he's at that level, then I can pretty much guarantee you it's going to be a good hire, because that skill level is going to be passed down to his, who he's looking after, and that to me is really thumbs up.
And this is based off, so obviously the pre-screening would get done by your internal recruiter, external recruiter, whoever it is. And let's say it gets the thumbs up here. Would you recommend it like some sort of technical screening test?
Yeah. So what normally I would do is I go through this kind of interview first. I want to see here about the individual. If it passes that check, then it's pretty much guaranteed for a technical interview. They'll go into the and then then what I normally would have done is I would have handed that over to someone who's way more technical than I am, you know. And at Jumo, we were quite lucky. We had a couple of Amazon engineers, so they had quite a good set of
You had a red
technical.
carpet, didn't you? Didn't you have a
Yeah,
red
yeah. So
carpet between?
they had a good process about that, and it was very good to go through. And the person can be scrutinized along those levels, but they wouldn't even get to the technical side if they hadn't passed my EQ test.
They did. It's a funny thing, these tasks, right? Because some people have got on the interview process, they have like whatever, a quick cultural chat, and they send us do the task, right? And
see, culture is a thing that you can adapt to. You know, if you've got EQ, no matter what the culture is, you'll find. And also, if you've come into that business, you would have understood the culture already. There's a reason you were in the door. You're choosing the highest, especially on a senior level like that. You know, you would expect that person would have reviewed it and understood it way before they sat down. If they hadn't, that would have, to me, would have already been a red flag.
I got you. Okay, and then let's say that person goes through that the technical, or they bring a snippet of code that they're proud about, or a solution, and they get through that process. The end would be like the CEO or someone meeting with them.
So then I also would like that person to engage with people that they'll be working with. So, you know, be it, you know, other departments or people you're interacting with, you know, and then they normally get interviewed by those people, you know, so they can get a feel of who this person is and get their feedback. You know, I might have missed something. I'd like to understand what they're thinking, and how they feel if it'll suit them. And then if that passes, then pretty much then you're in the door. There's 3 stages.
And then, nice. And then would those senior engineers know that this guy's coming in for a lead role?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well, actually, normally that he wouldn't be interviewed by. It might be some of the people he'll be leading with, you know, be leading, but also other department leads. You know, there could be someone from UX or someone from product or someone from there, just to, you know, because it's diverse across the board. You're interacting with different departments, and also other, you know, so they'll come in and meet other senior kind of positions just to see how that person, you know, suits.
Yeah, nice. There was this. I dealt with the CTO I was trying to hire once, and it was a rigorous interview process, 5 stages. And I said, well, what's happened to the previous guys that have got through? So he goes, well, they meet with my CEO, or our CEO, and the CEO keeps declining them. So I'm like, why is the CEO declining them? He goes, no, he didn't like this or he didn't like that. And I said to him, you've probably lost about 20 good engineers. And then I'll say, like, what is your position? And he'll say, well, I'm the CTO. I'm like, cool. So you're the chief technology officer. It's for your division. Like, if the guys got through 4 of the 5 stages, technically, the initial cultural chat, all that 5th stage to meet the CEO shouldn't be interviewing him. The CEO should be selling the company to him. You should be saying, this is the guy I want on my team. He's great. He's got through 4 of the 5 hurdles. It's up to you to sell him.
Yeah. It's exactly what I used to do at Jumo with Andrew. Andrew was the person who kind of like sealed the deal. You know, if it was a top person, because Andrew was good at kind of like explaining the vision.
Yeah, why is he interviewed? It's not like you're not interviewing a operations person for him. Like it's anyway, it's interesting that. Okay, cool. Trying to think, what else? How's your boy? Let's get off the work.
He's doing well. Yeah, he's sitting next to me, reading his next book.
How old is he now?
16.
12. Oh, 16.
16, yeah. It's homeschooled. He's doing work.
So he's in grade 10? No, grade 10.
Yeah, would be, yeah.
Okay, nice.
I think it's around that. I don't know.
And has he got chummies out there in Central?
Yeah, loads of oaks.
What do they get up to?
Also, a lot of mates online too. They'll game online and stuff like that. So it's quite different to when I was a kid, because it was kind of like, if a guy left the neighborhood, you kind of like never saw the guy again. You know, you maybe send a letter, but now they just game. You know, he's got mates everywhere. It's quite cool.
The gaming space is brilliant. Like there's you don't know who games. Like everyone had this preconceived idea back in the day who a gamer was, and now like there's a lady in our office, like tall blonde girl, this that, and she's like I should say this, but like she doesn't look like a game. Like you would, I don't know. She looks like a marketing. I've got this preconceived idea, like a
Yeah.
marketing tool, and she's like there at night gaming and stuff. You know what I mean? Which is awesome. I dig it.
No,
Yeah.
no. I think my addictive nature, I've avoided it because I can see me myself being sucked into it.
Yeah. It's the whole space is crazy. Yeah. Anyway, have you got any questions for me?
No. What am I thinking? No. Otherwise, I was good. Did you have a good trip and plate?
Yeah, play was cool. Look, the
Yeah.
beacon are it's like 80s. It's like stuck in the 80s.
I know it's
Like
crazy. Yeah.
you go there and like it's.
Do you ever go
it's a
surfing when you're out there? Is it good surf spots or?
So yeah, so normally I'll stop at like Vic Bay, surf Vic Bay,
Big
and then
Bay is beautiful though.
yeah, I dig it there. It's very nice. The campsite up top's amazing as well. Um, and then I'll go through J Bay and surf J Bay. Plets, obviously that the Chico Chow in front of
I
her
know
family.
it's happened a few times, eh? Like recently, there's been a lot of flap. It's hectic, eh?
Imagine you're on the beach, like I'm on the beach with the kids, or Lee's on the beach. I'm on the beach with the kids, and I saw Lee got child like 20, like, and the kids saw that. They definitely not swimming in the ocean again. Those kids. Like,
that's crazy. Yeah, it's there's a crazy attacks, eh? They play. There's some weird ones, eh?
Yeah,
So you go to Jeffries then too, and in Cape St. Francis or Jeffries?
Not Cape St. Francis. I've got a couple of mates that own houses there, not really St. Francis. And I've surfed St. Francis, but I haven't been to J Bay in ages. I was in the Mentawis now. I don't know if you know, for 2 weeks.
No.
So my wife, what a legend, she surprised me for my 40th last year.
Oh, lekker.
She raised, I think, 50 grand.
Jeez.
And sent me and 3 mates to the Mentawis, which
way.
is remote Indo for 2 weeks. 3 planes, 3 boats to get there. We left Monday morning. We only got there Wednesday afternoon.
Jeez.
Like proper edge of the earth kind of stuff. Like nothing there on the island. And it's basically like the best waves in the world. The water's 30 degrees.
Amazing, hey? That must have been insane.
Insane, yeah. It was very special.
Yeah, because a friend of mine, old schoolmate of mine, we grew up, he True Blue, he does organizes surf trips for people around the world.
So the True Blue guys will know where we stayed. It's a place called Bilal, and it's the South African like sailing surf guru, legend, and they built this resorts there. So the True Blue guys will know these guys without doubt.
Yeah. Greg's been doing it for years. He knows some amazing spots.
When are you going to start surfing, man?
No, I got into surfing. I prefer windsurfing. I do a lot of windsurfing. Yeah, I stopped there and got into kiteboarding, but now I got back onto windsurfing. So we bought new kits and we're sailing here on the flay.
Nice.
Yeah, but it's quite cool. What I'm quite keen in trying is this new foiling. That looks awesome.
My mate's also got one. Apparently, it's what do you mean, like foiling with a kite?
Those foils? No, surfing foils. They go out.
Apparently, it's harder than it looks.
I know, yeah, because also your center of gravity is much higher, so your balance is going to be totally different. But I'm super keen to try it.
It's amazing how like a little piece of swell, like they can just ride it.
They just pump it, so they just surf these long lines.
Very cool.
And also they literally turn back out, they pump back out. Back breaks and pick up a wave again.
That's amazing. Very, very cool. And then otherwise, that's just, I mean, all I really do is obviously graft and then just try to be present with my family and my kids and be like a good influence on them and guide them and just be a lekker pops and husband. You know?
Cool. Yeah, it's challenging, but it's good.
I know. But we learn along the way and we make mistakes and we get up and it's kind of like, I think there's 2 types of people, like some people have got like their work face or their work game, and then there's someone else. Like I am who I am inside work, outside work.
Same both.
Like, you know what I mean?
There's way too much energy to be another person in another space.
Exactly. And I just obviously try to better myself at work always, better myself with my missus and my kids, and it's tough with the world we live in now. With the kids, life might be easier, like we say, for them, but like there's different set of challenges they've got.
Oh yeah, no, it's different. It's totally different. So this whole it's quite it's one of the reasons why we homeschool my son is just, I think, like what's going to give him an advantage, I don't think it's current schooling system, that's for sure.
100%. I've got to say, like, that's another thing that's super impressive, like that you did that. There's a TEDx talk. I don't know if you know about it. It's about the
Yeah, by
snowboarder.
Sir Ken Robinson.
No, it was the snowboarding kid. I don't know. There's
No, I haven't seen that one.
I'll send it to you, and he explains it in like a kid's. The kid is explaining how his parents took him out and like his experience. I'll send it to you. It's super
That's good.
powerful.
I'd love to see that, because another good one to look at is Sir Ken Robinson. It's also a famous TED talk, but he talks about the most important skill we can teach our kids is creativity. Not creativity in only the arts, creativity in maths, creativity in mountain biking, creativity in anything, because that's what the skill and adaptability. Creativity and adaptability are probably the two key skills that they'll need to learn.
That adaptability. So I think like, so one of my kids is like extremely hardworking, grits, wild fun. Sometimes I think she's too much like me. So the wildness is quite crazy, but it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful to see. But she's very resilient and hardworking. And like, let's say for example, with schools and stuff like, and the world we live in, I'd much rather, instead of like squeezing this person so hard to get like say 70 or 80%, and she loses those traits that she's got now, the resilience, the adaptability. I'd rather get between 50 and 60 and keep the resilience, the adaptability, all that stuff, and get a lower mark and keep that, because that's going to get her further in life.
Well, creativity, when you think about their careers are going to have to change. I reckon maybe 5 years they'll do a career change. So like, if that means that, then what am I studying when I go to university if my career is going to change in 5 years? So it's going to be a different world. So I think adaptability is paramount. It's an important skill.
I'm just saying another fact. So you homeschooled, right? The top, like apparently like the top 5 businessmen or entrepreneurs, they all took their kids out of school, which you nailed. And your boys went to a book at 16. There's got to be some connection. Do you know what I mean?
It's what kind of like what freaked me out about it was when he was 5. He was at I was at a all boys school. All boys. Dad, son follows suit. But he was in grade R and he was coming home stressed. And I said to my wife, "There's no reason a 5-year-old should be stressed. Like, why is he stressed?" And it's just the push. The pressure was like, yes, you need to get them ready for grade 1. They got to learn the A's, B's, and C's, and they start reading. The guy's playing on the jungle gym. Like, that's all he needs to focus on right now is playing on the jungle gym. There's nothing else. And that pressure 100%. To me is just, it's quite an unnecessary pressure.
It's ridiculous.
It's one of the things I find quite strange is this idea that this level of friendly competition is all cool. So us having a game of football, us having a bout of jiu-jitsu, it's friendly competition, but that competition where I have to beat you at all odds because that's what it's like. No, that's not right.
Not healthy.
We wonder why the world's divided.
We also pick like when we pick a school, or when I pick a school, it's not like, oh, I love the school. I'm basically picking the least shit option. Do you know what I mean? It's like voting. You're picking not politics. I'm going to talk politics, but it's not like, oh, I love these guys. You're picking like the least shit option. You know what I mean? Have you checked out the Green School? I don't know if you know what the Green School is. So there's 3. I've got another whole journey ahead of me because we might open up stuff in Australia and go to Australia, but just school-wise, that's why we can't do it. But there's the Green School is also alternative teaching. I think there's one in Bali, one in New Zealand, and the third one that opens here in South Africa in Wellington and Paarl. And cool. It's you should check it out. Very interesting. That's probably the first school that I've gone like, wow, that looks cool. Do you know what I mean?
No, I think there's definitely this happening. People are realizing that and also parents, I think, are also, and teachers too. Bless their souls, because they are stuck in an environment which they know can be better, and there's some great opportunities and great ideas popping up, which is wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, kids. You said like kids coming home, your boy coming home stressed. Like, also seeing with my daughter, summers with my boy. Like, I don't remember that stuff when I was alive.
No, I don't remember that stuff too, Dave. I don't remember coming back stressed, man. I remember coming back happy because I was just joying. I was playing.
All grazed and broken, but happy. Yeah. I think the depression rate
was challenging. The work was always hard, but I wasn't stressed at 5.
Yeah, well, it's not good, man. It's not good. And I believe like a lot of that stuff was like worse than, like, I'm a smoker. I'm not saying my kids should smoke, but it's like that stuff over time, like causing cancer, can be like worse than smoking, or depression worse than like this,
It's
like,
one of the big killers, stress.
yeah, 100%. Also, there's no, we're going off subject here and I'll wrap up now. I know we've just gone over, but there's no, with the schools, there's no training for like life. Like, how do you deal with the breakup? How do you deal with the job loss? How do you making sure that they're outside and that they're like keeping fit, keeping active? Like, it's just, this one perspective, but there's no actual real life skills that are going to transcend through your life.
It's, meditation, EQ,
Exactly.
self-reflection, self-awareness, compassion.
Yeah. Big.
Empathy,
yeah.
Like rising their class and empathy.
Yeah. One of my proudest moments from a boy is like, obviously when they're like 3, 4, everything's like mine. And you know what I mean? I'm like, I used to hate that word, mine. I'm like, we should drive him mad. And another kid was crying to take his like favorite toy. And he'd go like, yeah, you can have it. And I'm like, that's good. That's really good. We need to nurture that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They did also, last thing they did. Do you know the A grade students work for the B grade students and the C grade students own the company? Have you ever heard that?
It was true. You think about, when you're at school, you have all these A students, but it's the guys who are actually in the lower grades that are millionaires and big companies and big businesses. It's quite interesting. Yeah, it just that, So I always think the case, obviously, but you can see it was school was fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. I mean, I hated the teaching aspect, but the mates and the chommies and having a good time.
I just wanted to meet have fun with the Oaks and go windsurfing. It was just
maybe that's why we connect, bro.
I know. So like June, July exams were all perfect because it was winter. Come December, it was summer and wind is like okay. December results, completely different story. Like what happened? Surfing, sailing.
Brilliant. James, dude, I'll give you a buzz after, or just later today. It's 1:05. Yeah, it was quick.
Lucky chatting, always. Lucky to see you.
Thank you. All the best to you and the
next
fam.
time I'm in Cape Town, we'll just go for a cup of coffee.
Sounds good, bro. Much appreciated.
Ciao.
Ciao. Bye.